bitch who lacks common sense and is completely blind to red flags. So I started a private Snapchat, but I used it as almost like an OnlyFans. Except it was free. I added a bunch of guys on there and my boyfriend's cousins. His one cousin was my best friend and would low-key hype me up. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend cheated on me, so I cheated on him with his cousin. So like I said, I made this private Snapchat that was basically like an OnlyFans. And I had his cousin on there who was low-key to conversation between my best friend and I. So I'm bawling my eyes out, turn on my game face for lying. And I'm like, I swear to God, like I didn't cheat on you, it was a prank. But he did the nasty with that girl, so I think we're even. So obviously I got back with him and we've been together for 4 years. Story time about how I slept with my teacher and got pregnant. A little background information, I was 18 and in 12th grade. I had always had trouble in school, especially history class. And I had always had tutors and everything.
Set it all in, just in case there's some tears. Now I am done. Thanks for getting ready with me. Have a great New Year's, guys. Wish me luck. What would you do if you just found out your best friend of 5 years was stealing from you? Because I just found out that my best friend of 5 years was stealing from me, and I honestly don't know what to do. So let's rewind and start from the beginning, because this is actually insane to me. And
show up like every couple of days to that apartment. So much so that it got to the point where they were just like kind of making like weekly visits to see if everything was okay. And once in a while I would show up to my house and there would be like detective cars like parked outside, like unmarked, just watching it. They knew him by name. Boom, boom, boom. Freddie, open up the door. Like, we're just here to check. Freddie, open up the door. Like they was like buddies at that point. And we would hear them consistently screaming at each other.
She goes, a few of your friends told me that you like my boyfriend and that you've been Snapchatting him and trying to get with him. So then she calls the girls over from my friend group and goes, didn't she tell me this? And they're like, yeah, she tries to get with everybody's boyfriend. So after that I got kicked out of both friend groups because they spread a bunch of lies and rumors about me.
Story time about how my boyfriend cheated on me with a 17-year-old girl. So when summer started, I started working at this new job. And I had a really good connection with one of my coworkers.
Yeah, I still got videos and that shit haunts me. She literally would cry for her dad at the fucking door. And all that rage caught over me, and then you had the nerve to say, call the cops on me? And that's why, yeah. So after we start tussling or whatever, I ain't gonna hold you, he got me on the ground, but it's cool. We fought a few times, and I got my few licks, and he got his few licks, right? Listen, but I walked away unmarked, but we definitely did tussle.
My boyfriend was seeing another girl behind my back. So like I said, I was talking to his friend, and his friend said that he's been talking to this girl for 2 to 3 weeks about the time that I've been gone. And he's been telling everybody about how he wants to break up with me for her. So of course I'm sad and crying, and I confront him, and he says, oh, she's just a friend, blah, blah, blah. So I press the issue, and then he tells me that he lost feelings for me weeks ago. And that the reason why he didn't tell me was because he didn't want to hurt my feelings. Yet he led me on for 2 to 3 weeks.
Begging me to come back, essentially, because he found it very, very awkward to be living alone with Amy, who very clearly had some feelings towards him. While I was living in San Francisco, Amy and James asked me if they could come visit me down in San Francisco and stay in my apartment while they visited the city. Naturally, I agreed, so they came and flew down, and this is where all shit hit the fan. The trip had been going fine until the very last day when I woke up and realized that my phone was not where
it was bubble gum, so I had to chew it. Taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck.
After secondary school happened, when everyone goes to sixth form or college or whatever it is that they choose to do after secondary school, we kind of drifted apart. Like, there wasn't any beef or drama. We just stopped being friends because we weren't in school every day and we weren't in contact with each other like that. So at the time of us rekindling our friendship, I had just been mauled by a dog. Go and watch my pinned post, and the whole story time's there if you want to find out what happened. And I was in a shop one day getting some snacks.
And it's really bugging me. And this was the first I heard about this. So I pressed on the account and I see this girl. She has like 100 followers at the time, or 200 followers. And it's just a bunch of highlights of my face, my photos. And her name's like Eliana Bakri. So I reply back to the girl. I'm like, hey, I had no idea this was happening. Like, obviously it's not me. The Eliana girl on Instagram, the one catfishing is me, she had in her bio the Qatar flag plus the Moroccan flag, I think it was at the time. I'm Persian.
Crack are you fucking smoking on? Y'all, I got anger issues. I hate people that talk through movies. Because, like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's rude as fuck. And I'm not a fucking hypocrite. So I know damn straight me and my mom wasn't fucking giggling and talking through a damn movie. So this bitch was dead delusional. Now it's smoke. Because, like, what the fuck you got going on? I just want to let y'all know on some insight, like, my brain is constantly playing, like, elevator music. No. It's playing, y'all know that song, Son?
Every time that we would see Freddie, he would always make it a point to say hi to my mom. We would joke, my mom, me and my sister, that Freddie had like a little crush on her because we would be walking as a whole family, even my dad there, and he would only say hi to her. But the whole family felt like relatively comfortable. We knew that he was like maybe a little bit off, but it was fine. So his father unfortunately ends up passing away. He was like sick, so it wasn't unexpected. So now it's just him and his mom. So we start like seeing the police
refusing to move and gets louder. And I'm being calm, patient, no cussing, nothing. I wasn't being mean. I was like, listen, you really need to move. You can go to the living room, you can go to my room, you can go outside, but you need to move. And when I said she could go outside, she goes, so you're kicking me out? No. Well, at this point, she's on the phone with her mom or grandma, and she's screaming, cussing, yelling, begging to come get her to pick her up because we're ganging up on her when I was literally just
honest. Anyway, so him and I start to hang out a lot, and he really likes me, I really like him, and we went to this football game at his school, and we ended up doing the nasty. After that, I'm in the bleachers with my friends, and one of my friends tells me, yeah, he has a girlfriend. So she couldn't have told me this before we did the nasty. Anyways, like for part 2. Part 2 about how this guy and his girlfriend literally beat me up. So like I said, him and I did the nasty at the football game, and then I go onto the bleachers with my friends, and she tells me that he has a girlfriend. But I'm not gonna lie, at this point,
So to provide some context, my ex-boyfriend and I started dating at the beginning of year 12. We were both 17, we were together for about a year and a half, and I broke up with him just before I turned 19. And oh, that boy put me through my paces, let me tell you. Before we actually started dating, we were just like messaging back and forth. This was about a week before we made things official. He's telling me about why he likes me. And then out of nowhere, he just sends a message being like, yeah, so you know, that was the moment that I fell in love with you.
Like, I've got so many random numbers ringing off my phone, and I'm thinking like, who the hell are you lot? And then I start receiving messages on WhatsApp, like some really, really inappropriate messages. And I'm questioning them, like, who are you? Where did you get my number from? And they're like, aren't you Sonia? And I'm like, yeah, but like, who are you? And they're like, we've been speaking on Plenty of Fish. I'm there like, I'm not on Plenty of Fish. Profile, can you send it to me? So some of these guys were
bathroom to call my friend. And as soon as I get into the bathroom, I start feeling so off. And no, it was not my anxiety from sus Chris. I also felt like I was gonna throw up. And my friend wasn't picking up at all. So I tried sharing my location with her, which I usually never do, like for part 3. Part 3 of how I got catfished and almost kidnapped. So like I said, I shared my location with her, but it took me forever because I had no control over my body whatsoever. And I was throwing up uncontrollably. So she immediately knew that something was wrong because I wouldn't just randomly share my location with her.
The weirdest reasons. So I would always have to do the projects by myself. And I knew she was lying. Like, it was such obvious lies, but she would never admit to it. There was this one time in school where we accidentally both broke something, and we basically had to confess to breaking it. So I told my mom that I broke that with her on accident, and my mom told the teachers just to inform them. And when the teachers confronted us about it, just being like, oh, did you break that? I was like, yeah, we broke it on accident, sorry. And she just...
The person that he saw whenever he logged on to the app was me. So he texted me saying, you're a whore and I'm so happy I cheated on you with that girl. And that really broke my heart, because every night he would come home telling me he loved me after he did whatever with those girls. And anytime I got paranoid about him cheating, he would comfort me. Story time about how I hooked up with a guy in my science teacher's closet. So my whole grade went on this field trip, and everybody was dressing super nice, wearing a dress. And I wore a dress that day, even though I was more of a leggings and t-shirt kind of gal.
I just kind of got the hint that that was his way of telling me, I don't like you, stop before I tell you, in a mean way. So when we were in middle school, he was always having these like 2-day relationships with all these girls and everything. And me, not so much, because sis didn't have a glow up until she reached like her sophomore year in high school. And the thing was, I wasn't that best friend who would be like, ew, don't date her, like she's ugly or anything like that. Like I would totally respect all of his relationships, even if they were 2 days long, but he would literally still block me. Well, the one day we were hanging out at his house,
Guys, so I met him at this park and he apologized to me, telling me that he wanted to get back together with me. But I told him to KMA and I left. Then Sarah came to my house and keyed my car, and then we fought on my front lawn. And then after that, she was texting me about how she was coming back to my house. Like for part 3. Part 3 about how my best friend slept with my boyfriend. So like I said, she came to my house and she keyed my car. And I caught her, so I went outside. We fought on my front lawn. After she left, she kept sending me messages saying that
home and heard her sing-song voice reply from upstairs. I called her again as I climbed the stairs to see which room she was in, and again heard the same response. We were decorating the house at the time, and I didn't quite know my way around the maze of rooms yet, but I knew she was in one of the far ones right down the hall. Just as I reached for the handle of the door to let myself in the room, I heard the front door downstairs open and my mother call out for me. I jumped back terrified and ran down the stairs to her, but as I glanced back
to this, I was talking to my boyfriend anyways, and I was like, you know what, maybe this is just her opinion. She has every right to her opinion. But I noticed that every single person who comes up in line behind her, she's telling the same story, that it was no big deal that she touched Morgan Wallen. And I'm like, if it was no big deal, why do you keep telling me? Also, Morgan, if you see this, I'd never do you like that. I'm over here like, you know what? She's entitled to her opinion. She doesn't have to be super excited. But tell me why. She starts saying, I just think it's ridiculous that people wear cowboy hats and hold posters. I had a hat on and a poster. Everybody else in front of me in line also had a hat on. I will say my boyfriend...
You know when you get a gut feeling? You're right. You might not be 100% right, but there is some truth to what you're thinking and what you're feeling. So I get a gut feeling. I'm like, cool, I got a gut feeling. We need to get to the bottom of this because he's fucking doing something. So I'm like, right, I need to get to my phone, but I need to get to my phone in a way that he doesn't have time to log out, because then I'm not going to be able to see what he was actually doing. So I had my laptop, and obviously my laptop and my phone are connected via iMessage. So I get my laptop out, I message my mum via my laptop, and I'm like, Mum, I need you to not text me back and just call my phone immediately.
Hey, it's me.
He actually has 2 apartments. He has one in Cortland, New York, and he has one in New York City. So we ended up like adding each other on Snapchat, and he got my number, which I really liked. Like, he asked me for my number first, and then we started Snapchatting, and you know, he was just talking to me, and he seemed like such a nice guy. Like,
well, I'll tell you how I watched someone. Yeah. So basically, I was in my room, and where I live, there's like this bar right next to where I live. Like, it's just always been there, like, it's a normal thing. Now, in the past couple of months, it's been getting like kind of busy. Like, more people have been going there. Also trying the new One Size primer today. This particular night,
but we got into like some, I can't get into it, but we separated for a little bit. But you know, when you separate from your baby dad or your baby mom, it's never really separated unless you're really standing on business. And I was young, so I was never really standing on business per se. So that was still very much my nigga. And so prior to that, I got into a car accident. And before that car accident, he wasn't there for about 2 weeks. No.
I'm not bothered about all the girls, because if I was to sit here and cry about every single one of them, I would probably end up killing myself. But there is one name that stands out, and it is the name that he always told me not to worry about, and the girl that I told him has got to go. So I click on that. Now, he's smart. He deletes chats, right? So there's not much in the conversation. But the last bit that says is, oh my God, can't wait to see you. I would love to see you. And he replies, oh, well, I land this day at this airport. Why don't you meet me at the airport? Sorry, sir. What? Now, let me set the scene for you, right? I am a white Caucasian.
Is this some sort of joke? He's like, yeah, she's got 3 brothers, and then like they all do that podcast. And I was like, what, 3 shots of tequila? Wait, hold on a minute. So now I'm texting my friend saying, where are you? Like, answer my phone call, because I was trying to call her to see what the hell is going on. These are not her brothers. She just watches their podcast. Like, she really likes their podcast, yeah, but they're not her brothers, no. I don't even think they're all Nigerian. How could they be her brothers? I thought he was joking and he thought I was.
Asked her if she could watch all of them. She said yeah, so I wrote her out a schedule of when they need to be fed. And I wasn't even going to be gone a week, so it would be pretty easy because I already cleaned all their tanks and everything like that. And I wasn't worried at all because I trusted my sister. She had 2 dogs and a cat, so I thought she was going to be fine. I called her the first 2 days. Everything seemed to be going well. And I called her on the 4th day, and she didn't answer the phone. So I called my mom, asked her if she could get a hold of her. And my mom said that she spent the 2 days at her boyfriend's house.
Next rumor that was hard for me to get out of is there was a rumor that I was caught vaping in the bathrooms because a ton of people saw me crying with police officers, and it was because of my own family issues. Like, it had nothing to do with school. A ton of people saw me crying with the cops and just started the rumor that I was vaping in the bathrooms. Like, I don't vape. I've really never touched a vape. I never will vape. Like, how do you get yourself out of a situation when you can't even talk about what was actually going on? Like, you know what I'm saying? People just always have their 2 cents to put in, and I bet you a lot of people think I'm like the worst person in the world, and that's not an assumption. I literally have people.
Beautiful girls from the 4 friend group now. Anyway, bye beautiful people.
These are all the things my best friend of 13 years did to me that made me cut her the fuck off. Also, this is your sign to stop keeping shitty people in your life just because you've known them a long time and you go way back. Because going way back means nothing if they treat you like fucking garbage. So number 1, if I liked or showed interest or even got the slightest bit of joy.
Give me peso, extendo. I carry bitches like a Greco.
When I was walking past, they were all in a whole circle, so I had to walk through them. When I was walking past, I heard one of the teachers say, "No shame," and shaking her head. I wanted to turn around and say, "No shame about what?" So bad, but, you know, I didn't. And I was really not in the mood. But obviously she was talking about me because who else was she talking about? Anyways, when I finally got into the office, my stuff was, like, scattered around, like, it was, like, in a whole pile, and then my backpack was on the chair. So I started grabbing all my stuff.
You know what? I'm picking the red one. Well, I guess picking the red one doesn't do anything. It says I have 0 time left and I'm still here.
Ellie, have you seen your sister? I haven't seen her all morning. I don't know. Maybe she already left for school.
Mom, what are you talking about? I'm right here.
Maybe. I'll just go check her room.
Ow! You literally just bumped into me.
She's not in her room.
Ellie, tell Mom.
Sissy, where are you?
I'm invisible.
Because I know where you live at. But yeah, at the end of the day, patience is key. But yeah, all that picking she was doing, guess who still ended up with the man? And guess who still ended up with the crown? Mwah. No bars.
Get ready with me while I tell you how I got a detention for being pretty. This happened about a month ago with my homeroom teacher, and it was traumatizing.
And she wanted me to be in pain because I begged her to use this IPL device on me called Ulike, which was basically at-home laser hair removal but safer, and it did not hurt at all. So my sister hasn't had to deal with hair in literally months. So I begged her to use Ulike on me, and she's like, no, either you can let me wax you or you're going on this date with a mustache. So of course I gave in to her waxing my face. We go grab my mom's wax, which has probably been sitting in her cupboard for literally 6 years. My sister puts it in the microwave, and then I lay down on the kitchen table and she goes to put the wax on me. I already knew this was going to be painful. As soon as the wax
in their home. They reported witnessing objects soaring across rooms, hearing laughter and crying, and seeing red eyes staring into their house. Food was thrown from their plates and the utensils were twisted into unusable shapes. The townspeople speculated that these occurrences were cries for help from spirits who thought the family would be able to save them. On the day the family decided to finally leave the house, a fire iron allegedly floated up and
Her and I weren't friends anymore. And then she would always try to accuse me of getting with him. Moral of the story, don't get involved in other people's relationships. Bye guys.
Story time about how my sister and I almost got beat up by a 40-year-old man. So there was this one girl who would bully my sister and I on the bus in elementary school. Well, one day we told the principal and the principal called her dad. And she made up this whole story about the only reason why she did it to us was because we were bullying her. So the next day, after
everyone's having a good little vibe, and the problem is, all of a sudden, this man is on my phone. Now, when he had my phone, in Poland, by the way, when he had my phone, this should have been the first red flag. You know what? The whole relationship was a red flag, but this should have told me, bitch, don't let him use your phone. So this man would use my phone while we were away, or whenever he needed to use my phone when his was broken. And he would log into two things, Snapchat and Instagram, right? And his email. But bearing in mind,
it was an unalived, no longer living person. That was his mother. And also to clarify, there was no son. He didn't exist. In his mind, I was his wife, J-Lo. I am J-Lo. And he was the son. So when he would say, I want you to marry my son, you should be dating my son, he meant himself. There was also a time where he told me that he saw me with some guy walking in the stairwell, and that this guy was yelling at me, screaming at me.